welcome back to my channel. I am Coach Shika of One More Step, Purpose, Vision, Relationship Coach, Veteran Focus. And today I wanted to bring you guys part 1, 2, 3, 4 of my series on military relationships and military marriages. And if you have not checked out my part 1, 2, and 3, then go back and I'll link the links down below in order for you guys to just click and go and play catch up. All right, so today I want to talk about dual military. For those of you who are not sure what dual military means, it means when both parties of the relationship are in the military. Now, doesn't have to be active duty military. One of you guys can be a reservist, and then the other one is active duty, or both of you guys can be reservists. All right, but that's a little bit, especially, well, the reason why I say both of you guys can be reservists and the reason why it can be hectic is because if you guys belong to the same unit, you guys can very well be on the same rotation, right? And if you're on the same rotation, and that means that you guys are active at the same time, whether your unit deploys or natural disaster or something like that, then guess what? You guys have the same problems that people who are active duty will have. Only difference is that you may be lucky to live in your hometown, which means you have family, but that's another story. All right, so you guys know relationships take effort. All relationships take effort, regardless of who you are, whatever your status quo is in the world. All relationships takes effort, and everybody has to do their equal parts. But imagine effort, and then not to mention you have separation on top of that, or you have commitments to the military, or you have just whatever, long moves or moves that take forever. These are some of the things that dual military goes through. Now, me, myself, I was married to another service member, and we both were active duty. In fact, we met overseas and got married, and we were combined together after a while, and we were, after 4 years of dating, and then we became, we merged our families together. We became a nuclear family. He came with 2 daughters from a previous relationship and marriage, and I came with, and then we had a son together. Okay, so we became the total nuclear family. And then we became part of the 6% of military members that make up, into the 2015-2016 statistics, 6% of DOD was made up of dual military. Okay, so believe you me, I've met some of those people, and life is hard. Believe me when I tell you that life is hard. Life is hard altogether, but when you throw being active duty on top of that, or being reserves, or being married to another service member, that's like times 10. All right, so today I want to talk to you about 3 of the things that we endure: moves, separations, deployments. Right, when I say moves, so these are some of the things that you endure when you are married to another military member and you have to move. So I know in the situation with ex-husband and I, we PCS, which is a permanent change of station, which is when you go from one duty station to the other, and we did PCS on a different rotation. Okay, so initially he was scheduled to be at an assignment for 2 years. During that time, I was transitioning from the enlisted side of the military to the officer side of the military, which means that I ended up doing 9-10 months of school. So by the time my 9 or 10 months of school was up, he was already 1 year at his assignment. Now, my follow-on assignment after school was to take me to a totally different state, to the West Coast, whereas that he was on the East Coast. So we were going to be about 2,000 miles away from each other, okay? So what we ended up deciding to do was we decided to just go ahead and I would do my follow-on assignment at his duty assignment, which ended up prolonging his duty assignment and ended up making him be there for 4 years, whereas that I was there for 4 years. So no, he did 5 years total, because he was there a year before me, and then we ended up doing 5 years together. And let me tell you, that was hard. But back up before the move, there was a separation, 9-10 months of separations where I went to 3 different military schools in order to become an Army officer, and because of that, he had to handle the kids by himself. So for definition, he was a single parent for about a year. And of course, you have to deal with the trials and tribulations of that. So with moves, separations, and deployments. Now, one of the things with moves, again, like I said, you could be on 2 different move rotations. So what that means is it could be where your spouse is subject to move at this time. Okay, now The way the military has done it lately, they've tried to keep spouses on the same PCS schedule, but that's not always the case. Sometimes we end up getting on different PCS schedules, which means that your significant other may have to move some months before you, and then not to mention you may have that, school that comes about that's in conjunction with your PCS move. And so if that's the case, then you're going to have more time than which you guys are separated, which adds additional stress. I know that there's people who go to long-term schools that require them to get another household. So because they have to have another household, they have to have additional expenses related to another household. And of course, if your finances are in order, that's another issue with being or moving at two different times. Then you have, of course, your separations. Your separations come from being in school, or if your spouse takes a 1-year tour to Korea or something like that, that's another separation. All right. Now, let's talk about the dreaded deployment. So if you guys out there in Cyberland who are thinking about marrying another service member, this part of this video is for you. All right. If you are married to another service member and you guys have to face deployment, which is an inevitable in today's military, then it's essential that you talk to your chain of command and get on the same deployment rotation. Because if not, then you guys are going to be like two ships passing the night. When your spouse come off of their 9 to 15 month rotation, at the end of that, you could be going to your 9 or 15 month rotation. And so you guys will be ultimately separated for 2.5 years, right? If you guys don't talk to your chain of command to get them separate on the same deployment schedules. Not to mention if you guys are in 2 different assignments. If you guys are in 2 different assignments, in addition to being on 2 different rotations of deployment, then, Skype and FaceTiming and letters and emails and vacations and trips and halfway point meetups is going to be your friend, because it weighs heavily on a relationship. Believe me, I know. Read my book. So it weighs heavily on a relationship because, nobody wants to be separated from their family. But these are some of the things that we have to endure when we are serving our country, period. Things that you can do to help eliminate some of those issues that you may have to go through. First things first, family care plan. You must have a family care plan. All service members that are married to another service member has to have a family care plan, period. And what this is a plan that your chain of command acknowledges, that says that if I have to leave or get deployed or I have to do this, then this person is responsible for my kid. So that's your mom, your brother, your sister, your lost cousin, an aunt, an uncle, grandparents, whatever. That's what the family care plan is. It's just the chain of command's way to say that, okay, you got your stuff together if you have to all of a sudden deploy, period. All right, because back in the day, they used to deploy. They didn't even know where they were going. They were just dropped off somewhere. So, what about the kids? So they made us do family care plans in order to make sure that you had a plan, a backup plan for your kids. Okay, family care plan. Now, second thing, how will we maintain communication? Period. How will we maintain communication? Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is essential. Speaking from experience, you'll come home and your family's dynamic has changed. It's bad enough that you come home and they seem to have been able to manage without you, which is good. But if you're the person that's coming home and you're noticing that they're getting along okay, you kind of feel bad about that, because you're like, well, you guys didn't break down with me being gone. Yeah, we think that way. We want you guys to succeed, but we want you guys to need us and want us and miss us. And the family was just like on one leg without you. It don't have to be the case, but we want to be made to feel that way. Okay, I'm sorry. We may be egotistical to a fault, but it's true. We want you guys to need us. So I know that one of the things that a lot of relationships go through is when a family has established a routine that you're no longer a part of. And you hopefully that all that is discussed before, especially amongst the adults, so that you guys can kind of be a symphony playing together when communication will be your friend. And not just any old communication. Everything. In fact, matter of fact, just Skype me on in. Just bring me on in. I want to do whatever. I want to know it all. Communication. And when you talk to each other, make sure you talk about things that matters. Make sure you talk about your feelings. And on top of that, it's yeah, you need to talk to the kids, but then there's that important moments where you and your spouse need to have some alone conversation so that you can do those kissy kissies and I love yous.
Communication.
Communicate with your spouse. Now, again, this is with moves, this is with deployments, this is with separations of any kind, right? Make sure you know what means of communications you will have and use all of them. There are so many free services out there. Of course, your FaceTime, you can get on a computer with Skype, you have a Zoom app, all kind of things now where you can communicate with your significant others or your family. Another thing that you have to do is make sure you put some funds to the side. If you can afford to possibly, say for example, your spouse is in, Texas and you're in Georgia, okay? Now, you can't meet up every weekend because of the distance, but maybe once every 3 months you can meet up. Maybe find a medium point for you guys both to travel so that you guys can meet up there together or as a family or whatever the case may be. Those are some things that you need to consider. So I don't want to keep up too much more of your time, but I just wanted to come out here and talk to you guys and about dual military. And anyway, thanks for tuning in. Do not forget to check out my book, The Realization of Irrelevance, Finding Your You After the Military. It's available on my website, www.onemore-step.com. Also on Amazon. And also you can get this, Be Who You Want to Be and Do What You Want to Do. This is available for download on my website. I am Coach Shika. You can check me out at www.onemore-step.com. Send me an email at onemorestep@yahoo.com. Send me a text message or an email or text message or a phone call. 864-1-MORE. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video.